Yo, welcome back. I'm gonna be reacting to the rise and fall of Family Guy. I don't know about you guys, but I watched this a lot as a kid. American Dad, and fuck, I don't want to be racist, but the Cleveland Show, right? It is the Cleveland Show, right? Yeah, this one. Did it end? I haven't seen anything of it. It only has 4 seasons. Anyways, let's start.
It seems today that
Is
all you
gonna
see
be
is
a
stale
wonderful-
jokes and lifeless
Oh.
characters on what was once our favorite animated TV show. Gone is the good old sharp, unfiltered comedy that made Family Guy a must-watch. It wasn't always this way. When the show first premiered, it was bold, daring, and unlike anything else on television, but as the years passed, cracks began to show.
Like Family Guy is basically just a YouTube Shorts farm right now. If you want to see Family Guy, just open YouTube, go to Shorts, and people are just farming it for some reason.
First, fans ignored
It's actually
them, but
pretty
as the
popular.
seasons dragged on, the decline became impossible to overlook. So what went wrong?
Too many episodes. So the start of things is always the best or the second best. The start or the middle. These are always the best part because at the end, what happens is people run out of ideas. You can only do the same joke so many times before people are like, "Whoa, haha, that's funny, nice." And that's what happened. Not only Family Guy, but also The Simpsons, I'm pretty sure, is having the same problem, where they just have too many episodes.
How did Family Guy fall off? Let's find out.
What's the big secret reason Family Guy can't win an Emmy?
All right, we'll tell you. Your show sucks.
When the show first premiered in 1999, admittedly, the world of adult animation was a whole lot different from what we have today.
It
The
sounds
TV series
pretty
scene was
rough all over.
dominated by a few other impressive names. The Simpsons was still in its golden age, and South Park was making waves with its own brand of humor and controversy. This was the environment Family
South
Guy
Park,
stepped
I've only
into
watched
as the
clips.
brash new kid on the
tried
block.
watching the
While it was
episodes,
initially
but
inspired by The
something
Simpsons, Family
happened.
Guy quickly carved out its own identity. It was faster, meaner, and packed with rapid-fire, self-aware humor loaded with pop culture references that felt both nostalgic and subversive. Its edgy style was unlike anything else on TV. Another unique aspect of the show was its cutaway gags. These were short, unrelated skits that delivered quick laughs and became a defining feature of its identity.
Yeah.
Still butthurt
They
because
spam
Judy
these, by
from
the way.
down the street sent him an email, but it was for her realty business. So
Okay, that's enough. Just forget this. I thought it'd be nice hanging with family, but it's a disaster. Like Lee Harvey Oswald working from home.
What do you think, Detective McBackerson?
Yeah, no, they seem unrelated and random and probably accidents.
True.
what was that?
But Family Guy wasn't just about humor. It had substance. The writing was sharp, the stories reflected the dynamics of an average family, and the satire on American culture, politics, and media resonated
chicken
with
off was
audiences.
peak.
Even though the show was
And
off
it
to
was
a
also the
promising
downfall.
start,
It was
Family
too
Guy
good.
faced a premature demise. Fox canceled the series in 2002 after just 3 seasons because of its low ratings and controversy.
Really?
However, the show didn't stay dead for long. Reruns on Adult Swim became incredibly popular, bringing in new fans. At the same time, DVD sales soared, proving there was still a huge demand for the show. But at the same time,
If you see this, have you guys seen the YouTube Shorts military woman like trying to like trap young men into joining the army? It's like, man, I know what you're trying to do. I'm not gonna join your shitty place and die in some random war.
DVD
so
sales
dumb.
soared, proving there was still
Then
a
again, if
huge
they do
demand
it
for the
that
show.
much, it probably
Recognizing
works.
this overwhelming popularity, Fox brought back Family Guy. This was virtually unheard of at the time, making one of the first major TV revivals driven
only
entirely by
antenna?
fan
No.
support. The show's return was met with massive fanfare and enthusiasm. The best part was that it didn't disappoint, at least not yet. Seasons 4 through 8 saw Family Guy at its peak, delivering some of its most memorable episodes, some of which are my favorites, such as PTV, Hell Comes to Quahog, Blue Harvest, Lois Kills Stewie, Road to the Multiverse, etc. The humor remained at an all-time
I don't
high,
think I
the satire
watched those,
felt
or I
fresh,
don't
and the
remember
characters, while exaggerated, still maintained depth and likability. Part of what made the early seasons work so well was the balance between crazy humor and good storytelling. Peter was a goofy, fun-loving dad and not a complete sociopath. Brian was the smart, sarcastic one, not an annoying hypocrite. Stewie was a little evil genius, not just a random joke machine. Chris was the lovable,
Not just
dim-witted
random
teen, not a
gay
total
joke
afterthought.
machine. Like, I feel
Also,
like
while
every clip I see him in on YouTube Shorts, it's just him being gay, or him being like naked. It's so fucking weird. He's a little kid, man. What are you doing?
Meg was always the family outcast. Her
a
struggles
few
at least
jokes,
felt
it's like,
somewhat
haha, fine.
relatable. The Griffins felt like
But
a
it's, like,
real, if messy,
constantly.
family. Dysfunctional, but still something we could connect with. The show had clever jokes, sharp satire, and even knew when to slow down for
I've
an
seen this
emotional
one.
moment. The writing was solid, the stories made sense, and there were even lessons to pick from some of the episodes. By 2010, Family Guy had become one of the biggest animated shows
Dude, is he blurring this as well as making it smaller so that YouTube doesn't detect it and copy claim him or whatever?
of all time, a cultural phenomenon with dedicated fans, strong ratings, and widespread influence. It became a strong competitor to South Park and The Simpsons.
I think I speak for all of us when I say I am over The Simpsons. Well, what are you
I've never watched The
I'm
Simpsons.
saying The Simpsons suck.
Obviously, The Simpsons from the early to mid-90s was the greatest animated
I
show of
don't-
all time, and
it's
Family
something
Guy
about the
was
yellow
far
skin.
from it. But then it seemed that the show was on its way to seizing the crown for itself and proving that it could stand the test of time, but as the series entered its second decade, cracked
I wasn't trying to be racist, by the way. I don't think it's racist. It's just the it looks weird. Like don't they look weird? Like they look disgusting to me. Like I don't want whatever.
began to form. Season 8 was the tipping point where the show began its slow descent, but it still had flashes of what it used to be. Season 9, on the other hand, is where the rot fully set in, and Family Guy took a very dark turn. Plot lines became
What
abrupt, jokes grew mean-spirited, and there was an increasing amount of unnecessary gore. It was clear the show had gone off the rails in a big way. One of the biggest signs that revealed that the show was starting to lose it was when they began relying more on shock humor. When it first got popular, Family Guy stood out because it wasn't afraid to push boundaries and make fun of things other shows wouldn't touch. That boldness gave it an edge, but once it hit its peak, it stopped trying to evolve. Instead of coming up with fresh
got
ideas,
afraid?
it just kept repeating the same tricks, even
Yeah, they
after
got
they
afraid.
stopped being funny. Cutaway gags, which were once a fun surprise, started feeling random and out of place. They had nothing to do with the story, and the jokes leaned more on being offensive than actually being clever. The show's once unique style became predictable. They still switched things up sometimes, but the old "this is worse than that time when" formula didn't hit the same way it used to. Another big mistake was how they stopped using smart, sharp satire like before.
Maybe I come around this side.
No.
Okay, maybe I come around this side.
No.
Okay, maybe I climb over top.
No.
You need help building more fence?
Okay,
Yeah.
come on over.
But instead of using humor to expose societal flaws, the show resorted to gross out gags, excessive violence, and long, awkward bits that dragged on far past their welcome. The decline in the quality of the show could also be traced to terrible character development. In the beginning, Peter was the simple-minded protagonist, with many episodes centered around his misogynistic and idiotic
I don't think I watched
escapades,
the
with the
beginning
outcome always
seasons.
being that he learned his lesson in the
So I
end.
can't
But in
really
later
talk about
seasons,
this.
Peter has now become a straight-up idiot, and the situations that he gets himself into make his character, in some cases, cruel-minded and a danger to all around him. And so, Peter, a once lovable idiot, became a reckless, sociopathic man-child who lacked any redeeming qualities and cared nothing about his family.
Education. You have no interest. You just do whatever reckless thing you want to do whenever you want to do it without regard for anyone else.
True.
And when you're not terrorizing the community with your impulsive escapades, you're being a total jerk to your family. You shove your daughter's face in your ass and you fart on it.
Brian used to be the voice of reason in the family, though he had his flaws.
I remember Brian being like the smart one. Right? Like, oh yeah. What am I saying? Why did I make that noise? Yeah, but he used to be the one saying, oh yeah, you shouldn't do this. This doesn't sound like a good idea. Huh? What are you doing? Then he just turned into like an alcoholic. I guess.
But over
I think it was after the book episode. It just went downhill, where his book was like shit or something like that.
time, he turned into an unbearable hypocrite who constantly acted like he was better than everyone else. Things even got worse in season 12 when Brian was suddenly killed off. The Griffin family mourned him and even got a new dog,
they
but
brought
just
a
a
new-
few
brought a new
episodes
one.
later they brought Brian back using time travel, completely undoing everything. This left fans confused because it seemed like the show was making a big change, only to
Well, it's pretty simple. The fans complained because they like the dog, so they said, "Oh fuck, we can't do this. We have to bring it back." So yeah, they folded basically. So they're not taking risk, and they're folding to the fans. You're not really supposed to do that as a creator. Like you do what you think is best, not what people tell you it's best.
to go right back to how things were. I don't think I can forgive them for what they did to my boy Stewie. Stewie, whose original charm came from his grandiose villainous schemes, was reduced to a merely comic relief character. His once brilliant persona watered down into bland, generic humor. Meg remained the punching bag of the series, but by this point, the jokes at her expense felt more cruel than comedic. If we take a look at the side characters, their decline is just as evident. Joe at first was a really tough yet cool character who wasn't treated like a lesser person because of his disability. But as the show deteriorated, Joe went from a decorated cop whose disability doesn't hinder him to a weak, pathetic caricature that let Bonnie cheat constantly while he verbally degrades himself. Cleveland was removed from Family Guy for his own spin-off, only to return after the Cleveland show flopped. Yet, instead of integrating the growth and...
Wait, did it really? I thought it was cool. Dude, I watched it. It was cool. Like, it did feel a bit flat. Like, there wasn't really anything special about it, but it was cool.
Appearances he had on his own show, Family Guy treated him as if nothing had changed, leaving his character stagnant. Then there's Quagmire, whose perversions were always extreme, but at least somewhat balanced by glimpses of depth. The show has explored his traumatic past and moments of character growth, but these are immediately undone in the next episode, reverting him to the same one-note creep as before. The decline didn't go unnoticed. The writers themselves had gotten either lazy or out of creativity, because the show's writing had obviously lost its spark. Both fans and critics pointed out that Family Guy was relying on controversy, then creativity, and were handling serious topics in a disturbingly tone-deaf way. An example of this was the episode Screams of Silence, the story of Brenda Q, 2011, which portrayed Quagmire's sister, who was a victim of domestic abuse. The backlash intensified as longtime viewers saw a show that once thrived on pushing boundaries in an intelligent way to turn into a parody of itself, enforcing dangerous stereotypes and abandoning the type of humor that originally made it stand out. To make matters worse, Family Guy's creator, Seth MacFarlane, seemed to have lost interest in the series. He originally wanted the show to end at season 7, believing...
Yeah, if you lose interest, you just end the show. No wonder it turned this shitty.
It had run its...
he has no inspiration, he has nothing for the show anymore. So what is he gonna do? He's just gonna copy-paste previous episodes, change the formula a bit, and be like, okay, people like this, let's give it to them like this. But what the executives don't understand is, they like this 10 years ago. They don't, like, times change. This isn't popular anymore.
By the early 2010s, his focus had shifted toward other projects like American Dad. This newer project received more of his attention, and Family Guy suffered as a result of this. Seth was also invested in voicing Ted, and he was involved in more ambitious endeavors like Cosmos, a space-time odyssey. Due to his overwhelming schedule, he even had to abandon a passion project, a reboot of the Flintstones, and so, with having to juggle all of these, Family Guy, once his brainchild, had become an obligation rather than a passion, and that lack of enthusiasm was reflected in the show itself. The effects of this disinterest became even more evident in later seasons, particularly around seasons 18 and 19. By then, the production crew seemed to have checked out entirely. Episodes began recycling plot points from earlier seasons, jokes became painfully bland, and even the voice acting felt bland.
Yes. Hero, I'll be a hero, and then they'll have to make me customer of the week.
Why is this story all about Mom this week? What, are we giving Seth's voice a rest?
Basically, the show lacked the energy and sharpness that once made it stand out in adult animation. Honestly, the problems didn't stop there. Another major complete loss issue was the loss of structural cohesion. Classic Family Guy episodes built their humor around a solid narrative framework where jokes were designed to enhance the plot. In contrast, modern Family Guy episodes feel like disjointed sketches barely held together by a loose premise. Instead of telling a real story, episodes are now like a bunch of random comedy skits with no real character growth or ongoing continuity. By 2015, Family Guy was still pulling in decent ratings, but longtime fans knew the show had lost its edge. The early seasons felt like an entirely different series compared to what it had become.
Here's the thing, you watched the show for like years. It turned bad, but you already put this much time. You watched so much of it that it's like, I have to keep going. I have to keep watching. If I don't, it's my loss. So of course you're gonna continue.
Was Family Guy the clever sitcom that played with classic tropes, or the one that took pride in tearing them apart? It never fully committed to one identity, and the drastic shift between these styles made it feel like two different shows under the same name. Ironically, Family Guy is often its own harshest critic, regularly pointing out its continuity errors, unbalanced writing staff, and limited animation. While its self-awareness can be entertaining, it doesn't excuse the show's decline. If anything, acknowledging these flaws without fixing them only makes their persistence even more frustrating. Family Guy might not be what it used to be, but you know who's had an even wilder journey? Quagmire. Check out Quagmire's entire story explained and see how the writers treated
good.
our giggity guy.
I want Quagmire to stay the
It
same.
seems
Today
that all
is
you
gonna
see
be-
is stale jokes and
I don't remember the channel. Thanks for watching. I do think the downfall was changing Stewie's character. Like, I think Stewie was a good character. All of a sudden, he just like a gay guy that's also a furry. He's also like always somehow naked. It's so weird. And yeah, it did turn really bloody. Hope you liked it. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one.